The Merchant and the Elf, Part 2, The Lie. The warden remained in the saddle for several moments, his eyes travelling from Tobin to the fire, then toward the carriage behind him. Tobin stood with his hands loosely at his sides. He tried not to look like a man hiding an elf. He had no idea what such a man normally looked like. "Where are you travelling?" the warden asked. "Bellcross." The man's gaze moved toward the carriage. "What do you carry?" Tobin glanced over one shoulder before looking back. Mostly disappointment. There was no reaction. Tobin's smile tightened. "Merchant goods." "Have you seen anyone on this road?" "No." "A woman." Tobin could feel his heartbeat in his throat. The warden's eyes narrowed. "An elf." Tobin raised his eyebrows with what he hoped looked like genuine surprise. "An elf? Have you seen one?" "No." The answer came easily, far too easily. For some reason that disturbed Tobin almost as much as the men themselves. The warden dismounted. Tobin's smile weakened as the soldier handed his reins to another rider and walked toward the carriage. Tobin moved sideways, only slightly, not enough to block him, enough that the warden noticed. The man stopped. "What?" Tobin opened his hands. "Nothing." The warden looked from him to the carriage. "What are you hiding?" Tobin's mouth twitched. "Debt." The soldier's hand moved toward his sword. Tobin's expression immediately sobered. "Open the carriage." For one long moment, Tobin considered doing exactly that. He did not know the elf. He did not know her name. She had entered his carriage without permission, hidden among his belongings, and brought the king's wardens into a life already burdened with more trouble than he could manage. Whatever danger followed her belonged to her. Tobin already owed 23 silver. He had 7 days before Rennick took the only thing of value he possessed. He did not need another problem. Then another thought came. A reward. Surely there would be one. The crown did not send king's wardens riding through rain in the middle of the night for something worthless. Perhaps he could solve everything right here. Hand them the elf, collect his money, save the carriage. Maybe buy enough decent goods in Bellcross to start over properly. For once, a problem had entered Tobin's life carrying its own solution. His hand reached toward the canvas. Then he remembered the bruising around her wrists, the torn skin, the blood, the way her fingers had trembled around his arm when she begged him not to tell them. "They'll kill me." Tobin's eyes closed for the briefest moment. He hated that he remembered. He pulled the canvas aside. The warden raised his lantern. Light spilled across crates, folded blankets, lamp oil, rope, the battered cooking pot, and Tobin's merchandise chest. No elf. Tobin blinked. The warden climbed halfway inside. He pushed one crate aside, lifted a blanket, and searched behind the chest. Tobin remained absolutely still. There was nowhere she could have gone. At last, the soldier climbed back down. Nothing. Tobin released his breath slowly through his nose. The warden turned toward him. "If you see her, you will not approach her." Tobin tugged the front of his coat straight. "Wasn't planning to. She is dangerous." One corner of Tobin's mouth lifted. "Most beautiful women are." The warden's expression hardened. "This one murdered 3 men." Tobin's smile vanished. The soldier stepped closer until only a few feet separated them. "She is not some frightened woodland girl. She is carrying something that belongs to the crown. If you encounter her, ride in the opposite direction and report her location to the nearest garrison." Tobin studied him. "What did she steal?" The warden's eyes became colder. "That does not concern you." Tobin gave a small shrug. "Usually when someone tells me something doesn't concern me, I discover shortly afterward that it very much does." The warden seized the front of Tobin's coat. Tobin's entire body stiffened. The man's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "If you help her, you will hang beside her." There was no anger in his voice. That made the threat worse. He released Tobin and stepped back. Tobin straightened his coat with both hands, though his fingers were no longer entirely steady. The warden mounted. "If you see her, merchant, remember what I told you." Tobin looked up at him. "I generally remember threats." "Good." The riders turned their horses and disappeared into the rain. Tobin waited beside the dying fire until the sound of their hoofbeats had faded entirely. Then he waited longer. Finally, he turned toward the carriage. "Where are you?" No answer. He climbed inside and lit the lantern. Empty. Tobin moved the blankets and checked behind the crates. Nothing. He opened his merchandise chest. Buttons, needles, leather cord. No elf. Then he heard the faint scrape of wood above him. Tobin slowly raised his eyes. She was pressed against the wooden frame supporting the canvas, somehow suspended between two narrow beams, her hands and feet wedged into spaces Tobin had never known existed. Her face was tight with pain from holding herself there. When she finally released her grip, she dropped to the floor so lightly that Tobin barely heard it. He stared at her. "That," he said, pointing toward the ceiling, "would have been useful information before I lied to 4 King's wardens." Her chest rose and fell as she caught her breath. "You helped me." Tobin lowered himself onto a crate, rubbing both hands over his face. "No, apparently I accidentally committed treason." Her eyes remained on him. "You could have told them." "Yes, but you didn't." Tobin looked up at her. His mouth opened, but no answer came. For the first time since finding her, he studied her differently. Not because she was an elf, because 3 men were dead. "They said you killed 3 men." Liora's body became still. Tobin's hand rested near the knife at his belt. "Did you?" Her gaze lowered. For several seconds she did not speak. Then she nodded. "Yes." Tobin's fingers moved closer to the knife. She saw it. Her expression tightened. "They were hurting someone." His eyes narrowed. "Who?" She looked directly at him. "Me." The answer settled heavily between them. Tobin's hands stopped moving. His gaze drifted toward the bruising around her wrists and the blood along her side. When he finally spoke again, his voice had lost most of its humor. "What did you steal?" Liora said nothing. "Whatever it is, they believe you have it." Still she remained silent. Tobin leaned forward, forearms resting against his knees. "I have just lied to 4 King's wardens, one of whom explained with admirable clarity that helping you ends with a rope around my neck. I think we've moved beyond the part where you protect my innocence by withholding information." Liora studied him carefully. "What is your name?" He frowned. "Tobin." "I heard them say it." "Then why ask?" Her expression softened slightly. "Because I wanted you to tell me." Tobin leaned back and regarded her as though she had introduced an unnecessary complication into something already complicated enough. "That sounds ceremonial." "To my people, a name given is different from a name overheard." "Well, to my people, Tobin is Tobin." For a brief moment, amusement touched her face. Tobin saw it. Then he gestured toward her. "And you?" She hesitated. "Liora." "Tobin and Liora," he said, spreading one hand as if closing a business agreement. "Excellent. Now that we've exchanged names, perhaps we can move into the portion where you explain why the King's army is hunting you." Liora's eyes shifted toward the carriage opening. The silence lengthened. Tobin sighed. Then his gaze dropped toward her side. "You're bleeding on my blankets." Her eyes widened slightly. "I'm sorry." That wasn't an accusation. He reached toward a small wooden box tucked beneath one of the benches. Liora recoiled. Tobin immediately stopped, his fingers hovering above the lid. Bandages. The tension in her shoulders eased. He brought the box closer and opened it between them. Inside were strips of linen, a small bottle of spirits, thread, needles, and a jar of salve old enough that Tobin privately questioned its remaining value. My mother taught me enough to keep someone from dying in my carriage, he said. Liora carefully moved her arm away from the wound. Tobin pulled the damaged fabric aside. His expression changed. The wound was deeper than he had expected. What happened? Arrow. His brow creased. The arrow is gone. I removed it. Tobin looked up sharply. By yourself? She nodded. He stared at her for a moment too long. Liora's eyebrows drew together. What? Nothing. He poured spirits onto a folded piece of linen. This is going to hurt, her jaw set. I know. You don't know how much. Liora gave him a flat look. I removed an arrow from myself. Tobin paused, then nodded. Fair point. He pressed the cloth carefully against the wound. Her breath caught sharply, and one hand closed around the edge of a nearby crate hard enough that her knuckles whitened. Tobin stopped. You can scream if you need to. Liora kept her teeth clenched until the first wave of pain passed. I don't. You nearly broke my crate. Her eyes moved toward him. And perhaps your crate is poorly made. Tobin looked offended. That crate has survived 6 winters. Then it has lived a full life. For several seconds they looked at one another. Something subtle passed between them. Neither attraction nor trust exactly, but the first hint that each had begun seeing the other as more than an inconvenience. Tobin looked back down before the moment required examination. He cleaned the wound and began wrapping her side. You've done this before, Liora said. My mother was a seamstress. That doesn't explain this. A softer expression moved across Tobin's face. She patched everything. Liora smiled. Tobin tied the linen securely. There. She lowered her hand over the bandage. Thank you. He began putting the supplies away. Don't make a habit of it. Of being shot? He glanced at her. Of thanking me. Why? Creates expectations. Liora watched him close the box. You don't like people thinking you're kind. His hand stopped on the latch. He looked at her slowly. That is a strange conclusion. Is it wrong? Yes. She kept looking at him. Tobin's eyes narrowed. Mostly. As he shifted forward, something slipped from beneath Liora's clothing. A chain. At the end of it hung a small black object. Tobin's gaze fixed on it. It was shaped like a key, though nothing about it looked ordinary. The metal was so dark that the lantern's glow appeared to vanish against its surface, and delicate markings ran along its length in patterns that made Tobin's eyes ache when he tried to follow them. Liora noticed where he was looking and quickly tucked it beneath her clothing. Tobin's expression sharpened. That, she did not answer. He pointed toward her chest. That is what they want. Liora looked away. Yes. Tobin sat back. What is it open? Her lips pressed together. Liora. She finally met his eyes. What does it open? A door. Tobin waited. When it became clear she intended that to be the entire answer, his eyebrows rose. What door? Liora inhaled slowly before answering. The one my people buried 300 years ago. The humor left Tobin's face. Why? Liora's gaze remained fixed on him. Because what was behind it could not be killed. For several seconds, only the sound of rain against the canvas moved between them. Then Tobin leaned back and stared toward the roof. Of course. Liora frowned. Of course what? His hand swept around the interior of the carriage. Of all the wagons in Greyhaven, you climbed into mine.